Hi everyone, welcome into Primetime TV. It's all about women unscripted today. I'm your host, Barbara Marville-Kelly. We're missing 2 of the 5.
Oh yeah,
I know, right? But so there's just the 3 of us. So I don't know, it could be crazier, not as crazy as, who knows. Krisula Gause and Sharon Kistler is back in the saddle again. We were trying to figure out when we were here live last. I'm pretty sure it's been a couple of months.
Yeah, was it December or November?
Holidays.
I think it was 2 months ago.
Yeah. So we're back, we always have great fun because our whole purpose here is to make a difference with everybody. And who was it? You were just saying before the show. So, some people they get oversold on life coaches, but there's really a purpose for it, especially in today's times.
Oh yes,
in today's times with the stress levels, it's become an epidemic.
Right.
And with that alone, don't you both find that that's what contributes to how we live daily? I mean, just not being able to diffuse that stress, and then it manifests itself in our bodies. You're going into herbs and healing as a dynamic wellness coach, and you've been certified under our Empower coach, Sharon Kistler,
woman.
which is awesome. And so you're taking all your skill sets and you're putting it out there, and I mean, she hit the floor running. Just hit the floor running, and I'm so proud of you.
I know, so am I. That's so great.
Yeah,
I have a great coach, I tell you, my market guy is like, oh my goodness, if all coaches were like your coach, it would be a different world, because, what you taught in your classes were just amazing. So I really thank you. I feel grounded because of what.
Well, a lot of it is the focus.
The focus,
because we have a tendency, we live our life, and we're taking in all the information, kind of like the caterpillars, and then we're learning and digesting, and then once we learn some tools and some different things to empower ourself, our life, our daily routines, then we become the butterfly. We
that's true. And I love that. Yeah, it really is. And if you're open to it and you can do it, it's awesome. Maura is out in Tunisia spreading happiness. And
hi, Maura.
Hi, Maura, if you're tuning in. And our dear friend Tinkerbella, also known as Helena Trangata, is sitting with her foot up and not getting served, really, but because she broke her foot. Yeah. So she's not here. She's resting, and she was planning on coming, but it's just one of those things. Yeah. So that's why there's the 3 of us. But speaking of focus, that's what I want to focus on, is our show and why we're doing this today. It's a new year, so I'm glad and very grateful for the 2 of you to come on board to really share some of the things that really make a difference for people that are out there looking for different ways to live their lives, different ways to empower themselves. Empowering is such a huge word, and it means different things to different people. And really, it's a matter of putting control and focus and concentration and all that back into your life so that you can do things consistently the same way on a regular basis, which will contribute to your self-mastery. And it works every time. My husband and I have been doing it for well over 20 years, and he even a whole lot longer. You've heard us talking about that, but some of the things that I think, to just keep it a little bit light and airy and open, are inspirations and what inspires us. And whether you're a life coach or not, whether you're happy with your life or not, what inspires you for the year 2019? So my question is, and you can Facebook us and private message us if you want, we're all on Facebook. What is your roadmap for 2019? And I'm going to start to my right with the Share Bear.
Well, I think that we all get really motivated about the new year. It's like a fresh start, a new beginning, and we can think about some of the things that we did in 2018 or the year before that we don't like, and then we really need some kind of process or some kind of plan to follow. Otherwise, we're subjected to all kinds of distractions. If we don't see what holds us back, we have a tendency to do the same, let's say the same habits or the mind habits over and over, and then we get the same results. So I think in the new year, it's really important to take a look back at what holds us back and what did not work for us. You know, it's like putting the square peg in the round hole. We have to be raw and honest with ourselves and make a list of things that did not work, that we'd like to change, and then learn how to shift that energy. If we're not really aware, the self-mastery skill of awareness, then we live more unconsciously and we feel out of control, we don't feel good, we react to things. So it's more about being the observer and not the reactionary, you know, to start with.
That is so true, and not necessarily being judgmental of yourself, but yes, being the observer, because then you sit back and really what you're observing in your own life or even somebody else's helps you assess what's happening in yours.
That's right.
At least that's what I've done, that's what I've learned in my coaching, is the focus. If you cannot focus,
absolutely,
you cannot get to the next step.
Right. And not be afraid of that change, right? Because we get so used to one way, like you said, okay, let's look at art in 2018. Okay, yeah, that didn't work too well. I switched from trying to teach one thing, and then I went, I came and I took the class, and I became a dynamic wholeness coach, and now, so I'm not afraid, right? So we can't be afraid of changing. But you're right, we have to first stop, look at what we're doing, and
Exactly. Well, you know, fear, the acronym for that is false evidence appearing real. And I did not coin that phrase, but I've heard that many times before, and I use it quite a bit because fear can hold us back.
Yes.
In fact, fear of success can even hold us back, right?
Absolutely.
You're afraid to go this way, you're afraid to go that way, but for me, in my coaching program, I follow my heart. And that is my biggest thing, and I'm never fearful to share that with you or you or you, because I know it works. And when you have these things that work, you want to do it again, and you can't wait to share it with somebody. And you know, after my husband certified you with Tai Chi and Qigong, that was just a small little portion. Now you have become whole. You have arrived in what is it, hasn't she?
Oh,
With
yeah.
her, and you brought that out.
Awesome.
And you just needed that. Just bring it together and get under that umbrella with all these different things that you're doing that your dad taught you to do. Yes, you can do more than one thing, right? How many times do we limit ourselves,
He
right?
taught me there is no limit.
Exactly.
So I do live my life without limits.
So the motivation, too, is how do we get ourselves, like you said, looking for inspiration helps us to be motivated, because then we do have something to focus on or to follow.
Exactly.
When we're really inspired.
You've been coaching clients for how many years?
14 going on 15 years.
So that is a lot of time.
It is.
And very successful. And I mean, you go very, very deep into life coaching, but you do it so that the person can really, really absorb this and focus on it. Have you ever asked somebody, what is your passion?
Absolutely.
And what do you get on a regular basis?
Well, you know what I find is that most people are, let's say they're moving forward in a direction that might be pleasing other people, or seeking approval, or trying to find love, you know, to make themselves feel better. A lot of it has to do with how our self-esteem is and how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
And I'm also an emotional healing practitioner, so that's really my big focus, to help people.
Huge.
Because
tapping, right?
Yes, the EFT and the transformational tapping. But the reason is because those emotions are some of the things that get in the way. We don't see clearly how, if we're looking for love in all the wrong places, we should be loving ourselves. We should be finding our own self-acceptance and not looking outside. And this is where people put more of their energy, we're talking about our energetic system, into doing things right or the way we once were taught. And the world is ever changing, and there's unlimited possibilities, like your dad said. And you know, this is how we can, like I said, motivate ourselves. So it's about self-motivation, self-empowerment.
But you know, I can remember way back when I knew I was going to become a mom. That's when I started my own personal growth and development by listening to the Dr. Sonia Friedman's. Do you remember her?
Yes.
On the radio? And there's so many talk shows, whether it be on TV or the radio, because I wanted to learn about the human brain and the connection from the brain and the emotions and why we think, and the heart, and why we do, how they're all connected, how and why we do things that we do, whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, or whatever. And you know, you either learn it or you don't. And if you're open and you're focused, you can learn all of that. And you're right, going from inspiration, what inspires you, and it's surprising, just in a conversation, somebody will say, well, what are you doing? And I will say, I'm fulfilling my passion.
Exactly.
And they go, well, I don't, because we have an intake. And when it's amazing what people will reveal on paper, and when you go back and you ask them about it, and they have no passion. And so to teach them how to find that passion, don't you think gets them going? Like, you're in your passion now.
I have to tell you, the way you taught and how you taught and allowed us each as individuals to go deep within and say, okay, this is what I feel amazing about. And you're like, wow, that is you, you know? And that right there, and how you wrote it, and how you pretty much said, okay, this is it. Now it's up to you. What comes within, right? What comes out of you? What do you have to share?
Well, so effective, rather than saying, well, you should do this and you should do that, and you should do this and you should do that.
And see what happens, people go to find a 9-to-5 job so they can make money and pay the bills, because that's very important.
It is important.
But that may not be in their passion,
right?
You know, because they're, again, doing it for another purpose. So your purpose and passion has to align. Even if that's not your full-time, I mean, you do have a full-time job, but you can still do some self-discovery.
Absolutely.
Like you said, dig a little deeper. Make a list of things that you like to do and incorporate that into your life.
And I think that's why my father, he just passed, but his life, he said he had fun. He said, I didn't work.
Not a day in his life.
He didn't work a day in his life. Why? Because he enjoyed everything and did everything with passion. I mean, I just, you know, so.
And it exudes in you. And I watched this. I observed this when I was coming over. Thank you for all my Beamer sessions, and we're still going at it. But when you're spending 2 times a day with someone, and you see your family and the interaction and how you would engage with one another. I mean, I just fell in love with your dad. I learned something from your dad. I learned that really, there are no limits. There are no limits. And through false belief systems and people telling us, oh, you do too much, well, sometimes we do too much. But that's up to us to figure that out. And, you know, but your dad was just amazing. And I think he grew up that way, and I learned so much about your family. And just imagine if everyone would adopt that philosophy, a life without limits.
Oh my goodness.
You can do anything. My mom used to say that to me. She'd say, you can do anything you put your mind to, you know? And I've accomplished a lot of that just by digging up that passion on my own and not having someone else say, you know, oh, you should be doing this,
or you should, or you would,
exactly. And so basically our show today is about really helping you discover your passions. Anytime we talk about coaching, personal growth and development, it all really comes right down to what your passion is.
And you know what? I think that's what you have started, the Amazing Women.
Oh my goodness.
That's so inspirational because it leads. I can sit next to 5 different life coaches,
That's right,
and feel empowered and feel great about what I do, because we all have something special, and we all have our own niche. So whether we're 5 health coaches, okay, well, I might do this a little different, she might do this a little different, and it's that chemistry, right? When I walk in and I'm like, oh, gosh, she makes me feel awesome. Oh my gosh, she makes me feel awesome. So, you know, everybody has an individual magic to them, right?
You know, and that's a perfect word, because I remember when we were going through some stuff, and you had come to my Heartways gathering, to come as a fellow life coach and to just be among, you know, just a little different element. But when you invited me to come to Amazing Women, and we'd talk on the phone quite a bit, and we still do. when you said in your breakfast that there's no competition,
I love
that. Was
Yes.
you talk about empowering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think that, especially in business, and you know, a lot of times there's a lot of this, and that, and people feel that they're in competition, or that can be good in certain arenas. But you remember telling me that.
Yes.
She said, you know what? No one can do what your husband does the way he does it. That has never left me, ever,
Yes.
Cher. And it's so true, because everybody's talking about, oh, well, that's too competitive. And I'll be the first one to admit that I did chair with Helena a local group, a networking group, every Tuesday morning, and it was one where, you know, you couldn't have more than one life coach,
Right.
more than one realtor. You know the ones, the networking. And they're great if they are working for you. But for me, this is just how I feel after observing all of that. Guess what? You could have a half a dozen realtors in the same room,
Absolutely.
and you may resonate with them all, or you
And
may
learn
just
from them.
resonate. Yes,
that
And
is.
that's
that's the restrictions,
Exactly.
the
Those are
limits,
the limitations.
the limits that we
Yes.
don't have to do.
Right.
Well, when we say, you know, or when, you know, our group, we like to say there's, you know, no competition, but we like to give ourselves permission to collaborate.
Yes.
And what I have learned so much from all the women that, you know, are in the Amazing Women, as we did in Heart Waves, some other groups that I'm involved with, is that we start like with a topic, and then we find out what works for someone else.
Right.
And this one here.
Right.
And we collaborate, and it's like we each have a light, you know, within, but together it's brighter for the world to see.
absolutely
That's beautiful.
is.
I love that.
It's such, it's a great, let's say, to reach our potential, our higher potentials. But if we're following some strict rules, or we have things like, for instance, jealousy
Oh, my
with
goodness,
women, it's a
yes.
big thing. And it doesn't even matter for women. I mean, it could be anybody, businesses, too much competition. We lose the essence of the freedom of creativity.
Oh my
You know.
goodness! And when you
and
can't be
networking,
creative,
right?
oh.
Because how can you
Then the network,
network
yes.
when
Yeah.
you're jealous of the other? Then I would
Yeah.
never bring you on my show, or I would never take you to do this, you know, because I'd be afraid. Afraid of what? What are we afraid of, right? So it's so nice to be able to have a group of us and say, wow, do you know, I tried this and it didn't work. Krisula, why don't you try it a little different? I do it this way, and this might work for you.
Yeah.
Wow, and now, you know what? If I can't, if I don't feel that chemistry with the person that comes to me, who am I going to think of? What an amazing woman, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give her to her.
Of course.
Right? So, I mean, that just brings you more people.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
kindness, or, you know, anything that is in a higher consciousness.
And that's what it boils down
It
to.
does. And we're cheering each other on.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, I
I was a
love it. I love
cheerleader in high school, and I liked,
I know.
but I liked that idea of, you know, having my friends, cheering them on, being happy for someone else if they do good.
Right.
I mean, if you can't get out of your own way to wish well for another person, or just, you know, allow everybody to be in the space where they are, even if they're having a bad day.
Right,
It's like,
right.
it's okay.
Yes.
But this is where I think people get caught up with the emotional stuff. They dwell too much on that negativity, and they end up having conflicts with people, and their progress, their self-development, as you were saying,
It gets
is
stunted.
slower. It
Yeah.
gets stunted.
It
That's
is.
right.
It is. And I'm sure that you guys will agree that when you hang out with like-minded individuals,
Yes, that's- oh my
it's
goodness.
an elevated frequency.
That is so funny you mentioned
It's
that
such
today.
a frequency.
Okay,
It is.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to
it
add
is.
something. Before, my husband and I, when we first met, we were like, oh, we would buy a case of wine every month, and, you know, all of this. And then all of a sudden, you know, things start changing, right? And you start, okay, now what do I do? Now how am I feeling? Now I want to help and share. And then all of a sudden, these people start going away because you're not doing the parties at your house, you're not doing this. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh my goodness, now look at the amazing women I hang out with, right?
Yes.
So now I'm like, oh, honey, and, you know, a while back, he's like, we have no more friends. I'm like, oh, I do.
And that's true. That is so true.
But you know what? That's not, you know, we've all learned who our true friends are.
Yes, absolutely.
Who are with us in the good times,
yes,
the kind of crazy, challenging times, and we know who maybe aren't at that level of consciousness. And I just always say, or acceptance of themselves so that they can move forward. I mean, it is a work in progress for people. And I really feel that when women can, like I say, hang out with like-minded women, there's a frequency that is a blend. It's like,
absolutely.
You talk about the light, that light does come way brighter.
Yes, it does.
And you've probably seen that on our shows when somebody hits a talking point and then we're all just like bouncing off the walls. We were talking about different little exercises and different little projects, doing different projects. That's been a while.
Oh my goodness, that was before Christmas. Those little things that you said. The calm jars.
Yes,
the
calming jars.
Calming jars.
Love that. Love that. So, giving these ideas and just, interacting with you, you can get a hold of any one of us through Facebook, and you can contact us if you have any questions. Who knows, maybe you'd like to be on the show. And we can break, wouldn't that be fun, is to have somebody come on and
how fun.
Do like a Q&A, because there's a lot of people out there today, as I was saying earlier on, that stress has been dubbed the epidemic for the 21st century.
Yes.
And where is it all coming from? You see the epidemic of the opioids. You see tank-rocking babies who are born addicted.
Oh my goodness, she's another amazing person.
I tell you,
oh my gosh.
Absolutely, out there rocking babies. And it's just amazing the people that are involved to try to make that difference and try to raise that awareness. It's not that difficult if you're open. If you're open.
What would be neat is to have all these places that are needing people and show them so other people can look at the show and say, hey, I can go and help at this soup kitchen, or I can go and help rock babies, or I can, that would be a service to people that want to get involved and they don't know how, So
That's right.
if you know how, if we can share.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Tink will probably, hopefully, be back at the end of February. It'll be after Valentine's Day. It all really comes down to love. It comes down to love.
And, I was going to say, too, that talking about, making, new decisions for the new year and learning how to sort of clear your energetic system.
Yes.
And this is a very personal decision. Like, we have to make our own decisions, and what we think and our thoughts and our words that we choose and the actions we take, this is what's going to give us a different outcome, and then maybe make a plan to follow. But when we have people in our life, not everybody is always like-minded.
Right.
So I was talking to somebody about this a couple days ago, so I'd like to mention it, but not having judgment.
Yes,
being
beautiful.
able, to let go and just appreciate, where, like I said, where people are. But forgiveness, the definition of forgiveness is the withdrawal of judgment. I always loved that definition.
And that's
to
a
forgive.
very good one.
And so when you can get into that, the practice of forgiveness, you are cleansing and clearing your own energetic blocks. You're raising your vibrational frequency.
Absolutely.
You're able to think more clearly because you're getting rid of all the junk.
Yes,
and then once you purge and you let go, you have room for new to come in.
Well, you can be creative then, and when you're bogged down with, holding these grudges and being angry all the time and taking it out on other people, it doesn't serve you well. It just really doesn't.
And it actually wears down our bodies, right? It wears down our minds. And
it does.
It's just, it's a nuisance. So it is so true about not having that, and looking at things in a different way, right? Because you kind of, it's like takes the shackles off of you and you can do anything.
It gets you what I call out of your own emotional prison.
Yeah,
exactly.
I call it the emotional prison breakout. When you have that feeling of freedom that, I know what you did was wrong, but I forgive you.
Absolutely. It's huge.
It's huge.
And
if you're doing it for yourself, You know what I mean? And to ask for forgiveness if you've done someone. I mean, I'm not getting up on my pulpit here and getting on my soapbox, but that's just what we've lived.
You mean we're not perfect?
Oh, wait now, let's rethink. No.
Well,
exactly.
If you do practice this and it lightens your heart up. You know, when we carry around different conflicts, things that we have not resolved, all those unresolved issues get stored in the body.
And guess what? You're studying Oriental medicine.
Yes.
And everything is based on the organs and our emotions.
Excess and deficiency and all that.
Well, like the anger.
Oh, yes. The liver.
And you know what?
The liver.
We teach people how to be better, right? So the other day I made a quick turn on 19, and really I should have waited. And this young guy went over there, and he's like, oh, roar, you know, and then I pulled up beside him and I said, you know what, I have to tell you, I'm sorry. He looked at me like, he goes,
like what?
Yeah. He goes, thank you very much. I said, yeah, it was my mistake. You know, I should have been paying more attention. And he just, so I think that
you changed his frequency. Right. You brought his frequency that was down here in anger, which is a very low frequency, talking about being creative. You cannot be creative when your frequency is down. You lifted that frequency.
That's right.
And guess what? You may have made a difference in that man's life. He may have drove away and go,
wow,
I think I might like to be like that. I might like to practice
that's what I'm saying. So we change people with how we treat them, right? And how
absolutely.
It's called walking your talk.
It's like the kindness, you know, when you do an act of kindness, which is what you did, and that always lifts somebody's spirit. But even what I think is extraordinary, even the people witnessing an act of kindness. You can raise your own your own frequency just by witnessing. And you know, a good example of that is I'm a Facebooker, and I see the most wonderful videos on Facebook where there's a lot going on. I don't know, on my friends that I have, I love to go and scroll through. I'm inspired every day.
It's fun.
Their hearts are wide open, and I have a lot of people that share wonderful things, and it just makes me feel good.
Right.
So if you get stuck in the muck, you know, I call it stuck mode, even that, you know, look for things where, you know, other people are doing wonderful, nice things from the heart.
Right, and like them, and just...
Yeah, that lightens up your heart. And then when you do your own actions of, you know, goodness, generosity, compassion, and, of course, gratitude, having our gratitude.
You just read my mind. That was my next word coming out.
But this is how we help ourselves. When you talk about, you know, how do we find our passion and how do we go to the next level? How do we balance our life? It's really seeing on one hand, you know, what is holding us back or not making us feel well, but consciously making a conscious effort to do more that brings in these good feelings. Once we love ourselves, we have more love to give to
others. And that
others.
is so true, because so many people, you know, and we could be here overnight on that subject, on loving yourself. And sometimes these things happen as a result of many different factors in our life experience, from even when we're growing up. And it's so right. And you know, when that whole point came to me was actually when I was expecting my first child. And the one thing that I wanted to do was really teach them to have a good self-esteem. And I share this story all the time, but my oldest son, Jason, who's mid-40s, he'd come over to the house, and I had just one of many boxes of pictures in a cardboard box, and they were just kind of thrown in there. And then I got the albums over here. And where's that box of pictures? I said, Jason, why do you like to go into this box of pictures? He says, because I was a happy kid. I was a happy kid. The adult part? That's crazy. But I was a happy kid. So he was going back to a good anchor, a place and time that made him feel good, and guess what? as we always say with Master Kelly on our shows and talking about, you can just imagine those times back in your life, and you are bringing that forward in your heart. And it changes the frequency right in and of the moment. You don't even have to be around anyone. And that, to me, is a real in and of the moment when you can grab that time. And it's one of those things that it becomes practice. You know, when I was first learning how to live a heart-empowered life, I had to practice at it. I couldn't tell if I was making a decision here or here. But I do remember, I'm sure you're from that era where, I got this gut feeling, right? I got a gut feeling about this. It's your heart talking.
It is.
And there is a heart here in your heart, there's a heart in your brain, and there's a heart in your gut. And when those three are connected, you can be, no matter what's happening in your life, you can be going through health challenges, financial woes, relationship challenges, job changes, relocation, death, divorce, crisis, moving, you name it. You can be going through any of that. And if you've learned the habit of living a heart-centered life, you can get into that.
Right.
Even though the kids are screaming and the neighbors banging on the door, you can go there because you're trained, just like you're trained as a life coach, just like you're trained in your coaching sessions. It becomes habit. And isn't habit what we're supposed to be doing to make that change?
The new habits, the good habits.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, too, like we've been talking about focus, we have to make a decision on what we want to change and always look at the energy. Like if it's a negative energy, the answer is on the other side of the coin. It's always the opposite energy of the problem.
Yes, yes.
I mean, that's where the solution is. So, you know, you've got to find, you know, if it's a dark place, you have to find the light. You deliberately have to make, you know, some steps that you're taking to bring that into your life. If you're a procrastinator, you've got to find ways to have movement for improvement in your life.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, movement for improvement. Because if you're stagnant, so there's an opposite polarity for just about everything in life. Whatever you're stuck on, there's always an answer. It's always the opposite energy of whatever the problem is.
Absolutely.
So it does come back to choices.
It comes back. And then to retrain the brain, you've got to have at least 3 steps. I always break it up into morning, noon, and night. And when you're really trying to practice, especially if you have an addictive mind habit, you have to have that new habit or that new energy that you're reminding yourself, a reminder in the morning, afternoon, and the evening, and bring yourself back to center and just take your mind into that good energy stuff. I mean, this is pretty generalized,
and even that does become a habit.
It applies, yes.
It can become a habit.
You have to be able to stop yourself. You know, or else you stay stuck. And you don't
wonder why.
You don't even realize it, you know?
What I used to say to myself every morning, I would wake up and I was like, gosh, what can I do to better myself? How can I help people? What can I do? And that really helped me look for things, right? It helped me say, okay, what can I try? What is it? How is this gonna affect someone? You know, I want to share, but I want to share with love. I want to share with, how? So not everything comes at one time. So every morning when you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, maybe today I'm gonna try this. Maybe today, so it was just.
And it's okay if it's not something that works out.
That's like Krisula, though. You're a very heart-driven person.
Oh yeah, she is definitely.
But that's what works. You do some deeper, questioning for yourself, and then those answers come, from within.
It's so true. When I think it was you that told her when I went down on the dance floor. She's on that phone with me. She says, I'm on my way with a Beamer.
I was like, oh my gosh, really? She goes, no, really, Krisula. She did. I just took over the walker.
That night, you brought the walker, you and Bill, and oh my gosh, that was it. And now, the walker's with Tink.
What are friends for, right?
And I'll tell you, I didn't even hesitate to ask you, when you said you had a walker, I filed that in my brain somehow.
Well, that was from Bill's back surgery.
Right.
It's getting a lot of use.
I know, my God. Talk about energy. That walker's got some stories to it. But it was like you didn't even think twice about bringing that walker.
Oh,
you didn't
of
even
course.
think twice about doing the Beamer sessions. And in fact, we're actually going to be doing a show on primetime and let you know what I've been doing. And and we got to know each other, even though you were one of our instructors, certified instructors that we certified. This has been this is a deeper kind of like a girlfriend thing, connection. And we learn more about your family and your dad and just all these wonderful things.
And I'm so grateful to be able to have that experience and to, I mean, I felt like we were like, in the old times when the little Greek ladies would go up in the mountains and they would sit there and, talk about what went on.
Or the quilting circles.
I got to sit there and say, oh, this is what I'm doing today. What do you think? What do you think, Helena? Should I write it this way? Should I not? Barbara, what do you think? And it was fantastic because I'm like, I was learning more than
Yeah.
No, we were. It was like almost like a Sunday go to meeting. I mean, every day.
Well,
every day.
Women have always learned. Even back in the Bible days, they had the red tent, where the women all gathered, and that's where we learned from one another.
Absolutely.
And we still learn from one another.
Oh, we're still learning. Life is such a learning experience.
And, I like to tell people, if you don't have that in your life, look for your support team, look for your tribe.
Yes.
The sisterhood,
network.
the Sisterhood for Positive Living, or a network. Just get around people of like mind, or people that just want to make their life better.
Right.
Because you can help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like it when you say the Sisterhood for Positive Living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not all groups are do you know what I'm saying? That it's not.
That's a focus. See?
It either resonates with you or it doesn't. And Cher, your breakfast is usually it's the same day we do our Women Unscripted.
Yes, and
usually
the next time we're not having a meeting until the end of March.
Okay,
but it's always the last Monday in Safety Harbor at the Paradise Restaurant. But even there, that's a success network. A little different from our other group.
That's your Thursday night.
Yeah, the Thursday night is more experiential, and we have a wonderful team of women that all come together, and they share their areas of expertise on holistic wellness and spirituality and empowerment. I mean, you just name it, authors. But that's the beauty of that, is that these women come with the service to women. And we love to do it. We have fun. We have musicians. We have Therese Hartman.
Ages,
we have.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yes. And just it is really a wonderful thing. It reminded me when I was in high school, I used to have pajama parties. Well, I don't know how much good we did, but I do know that we used to solve all of our problems.
Of course.
By staying with, other than school, but staying with each other and being able to share, what difficulties and the boyfriend things and all that. But it always works when you bring women who are, let's say, have the heart to want to open and listen. Listening is probably the most important thing.
You just brought something to mind and I think you were there. I don't know if you were or not, but we were at our home, and remember Ramona?
Yes.
No, I wasn't. I missed it.
With the rainbow that came in and went on her heart.
The magic,
Because I have these Swarovski crystals hanging. I did this on purpose to amuse myself. So every afternoon, I have hundreds of rainbows all around the room. Well, but this particular time, just the one came through, and Ramona had lost her son. I think it was her only son.
She was talking.
And I know she wouldn't mind us sharing this, but it was...
Well, she was just opening to us.
Just that day.
Yes, just that day.
I
really,
didn't know that.
She felt safe and started to express. And the next thing you know, those rainbows went right to her. I mean, it was like a message.
I know.
It truly was.
I know, and it felt so good to see that because maybe she hadn't done a release or hadn't opened up to anybody about that, and that is devastating. And I'm sure there's people out there in our viewing audience that may or may not have gone through that, or somebody that's gone through it. And when you can open up with someone and really share what is on your heart, it is kind of like it's a release, and it makes you more engaged with it The tribe.
Yes,
the tribe.
The tribe.
So
and the trust.
Exactly. And
trust.
in this last year, trust is a big thing, really and truly. This last year has been kind of crazy for a lot of us in a way. But who was? I think it was might have been Joanne. One of the first things that we watched her go through, but before that, we are all like collaborating on, I called it our triage tribe. Yes. Trying to figure out, okay, well, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? And I said to my sister, I go, you remember when we used to listen to Mom saying what we're doing now? And I guess that's just a matter of what happens. You add a few years to your life. You got this, you got that. Yeah. You break your wrist. What do you do about that? You know, you have people that are there to support you. And it is like a tribe where you know who you can go to. It's similar to a networking group.
It is, yeah.
And you're amazing women. You talk about, and you're welcome to join. You can come on the last Monday of the month in March. Come join. You will not believe the energy. It is a buzz.
Amazing.
It is a constant buzz. And that frequency stays with us. We're still buzzing when we end up here. Because we go to that, we're there for a few hours, and then we just go home, get cleaned up, and then we schlep up to the studio.
Well, and we try to get people to come that are going to speak and share expertise so we all can be successful.
Right, right.
And I think even today, like we're telling different stories that sound personal, but everything can be applied. We're, you know, things that work for us is what we're sharing. But the idea of people that find themselves, you know, down in the dumps, or they have their stuck emotions. You have to deliberately make that decision, be decisive, and consciously make that effort. And when you're in trouble, then reach out for help.
Yes,
I mean, that's the thing. Find something, find a group, find a friend, find people. Find people that you can trust to connect with, because I think connection is the answer to trusting, to feeling better, to healing, because we get in situations and we don't know what direction to go into. Our minds need a place to focus. Our mind needs some place to go besides lamenting over our problems, because that's what's causing the stress.
And we just keep going around that circle, around that circle, around that circle. It's like, oh my goodness, if we have the strength and the courage to come out and say, look, this is what's going on in my life. Do you know of anyone? Can you help me? Do you, I mean, and anybody, any of us, or, you know, women in your amazing women group would love to share and sit there and hold your hand and say, okay, you know, let's try this, or, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful way to help.
Well, absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that I think all of us try to do. And there's hundreds of people that are connected throughout, I know, in the Pinellas County area of Florida, that are so dedicated to even like holistic wellness and just alternatives, ways to think and do your life in a healthier, mindful way. And this is different for people who feel like they're all focused on what they need to do, and like I said, their jobs, their stress, their families. But how can you do it different that brings in a different energy, or that calm, and so you can think straight. You know, otherwise you're in the ball of confusion, and and then it takes you, you know, I call it down the rabbit hole, you know, where you really can get lost. So definitely reach out and find people who can help you or inspire you, like you started in the beginning.
And I just have to say one thing. I went to a gathering, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm just not perfect at something. Something like that. I said that, and then someone turned around and she looked at me and she goes, you know what? You are perfect the way you are.
That's right.
And you know what? I love that. I'm like, every time I sit there and I think of, oh my goodness, this or that in my life, and then I hear that woman and her voice and say, you're perfect the way you are. I mean, and we all are. So even though we have whatever issues or anything that we have, know that we are perfect.
That's right.
So I just wanted to say that.
It makes sense, and that it took But what, a few seconds for that gal to say that to you because she saw that you needed to hear that.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And that's that intuitive part that she picked up on to share that with you. And look at how it still resonates. And
oh my goodness, I tell everyone.
We're born perfect.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're all unique. We each, like I said, we each have a light. We need to shine and be confident that it doesn't matter where we're at in life.
Right.
But be yourself, be your authentic self.
Oh, yes.
And maybe we do need tools, you know, to learn how to get in balance. But we have to give ourselves permission to be who we are and do that creative expression.
It is so true.
You know?
When I started my job in my mid-40s at the Home Shopping Network, and I thought, this is interesting. I've never done this before, right? And I'll never forget Tina Berry, Mama, if you're out there and you're watching our show today, I still give you credit for this. I call it my parking lot chat, and we went outside in the host parking lot, and I said, what are your tips? And she said, child, you go out there and be yourself. Don't be trying to sell the jewelry. Don't be trying to sell the clothes and all that. Be yourself. And do you know, I had already planned on doing that because I don't know how to be, you know? I need to be myself because everybody else is taken. So just keep that in mind. Be yourself.
That's a good way to put it to people.
It is.
And the word, how you say it also, you know, be yourself because, you know, that is cute. I mean, we need to coin, you know, what is it, these phrases, and be your authentic self. And it's so true because we're all so different. And we have so much to give one another, right? Just one word or one phrase, one look, right? When you look at somebody and just see their sparkle or see their smile, or you know, so I think it's so very important that everybody realizes
and
that.
some people, like I said, they go down that rabbit hole, or they have a relationship where they forget who they are, they forget themselves. That's another thing. And you bring them back into finding their individuality, you know, finding out what it is that makes you special, that makes you unique. I love the statement, travel by your own star.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, and finding maybe things you don't know about yourself because you've been dedicated to something else for so long, like when people retire. Or
caregiving.
Or caregiving, or someone passes away, and so then you have a different chapter of your life that's unfolding.
Yes.
And it could be an adventure. I mean, we have to approach this as, maybe I've been living under a rock, you know, so let me go out and let me, you know, let me discover what else is out there and embrace it and not just go, yes.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
When
There's always a new chapter. That's right.
And that
for the new year.
Because of my dad, right? I go back to my dad. But when everything happened, I said to myself, what would he have wanted of me, right? I want to walk my dad's walk, you know, and I said that before, and I'm like, what would make him happy? I want him to realize and to know that when he looks down upon me that I'm having just as much fun. I am not working. I am having fun helping people, right?
That's right.
Yes.
So
That's beautiful.
He gives me that.
And that's
beautiful.
That's so representative of you as your dad. I mean, you're out there doing what you love to do, helping others, just like he did way back in the day. And it just, when I didn't realize that until I met Mike.
Yeah.
And on a daily basis. And we got to know one another, and oh, he's I don't even feel like he's gone anywhere. He's like right here with us.
Yeah, he probably is.
Yeah. He's right here going, oh, lady.
Exactly. But
Let me turn my cheek.
But it's so true. And when we talk about the inspirations which help to motivate us, to help find our passion, because that's really it. And there are a lot of people that are walking around the planet that really don't have a passion. What is it? What is the meaning of life? What are they here for? It's not just to go out and make money and get the house, the car, the this and the that's. It's to make a difference. Somehow, your special way. And it may not be as a life coach, but it may be as lead by example. You're setting an example for your family, for generations to come. I know my family is my driving force, day in and day out. And I do my very best to set that example for them. and share with them. Just do anything and everything you do in your life come from love. Come up from a place from love, even when you're angry. Absolutely. When you go to your heart, you will change that frequency. I can get, just like the guy that you thanked, or that thanked you when you said, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That was my fault.
I've done that only, I've done sign language.
Well, that's humbling.
I would come, did you roll the window and actually speak?
Yeah,
See,
I rolled the window down, and our kid was like,
well, he was probably expecting
he was like,
something else.
He was like shocked.
He was probably expecting, you know.
Yeah,
like
the sign language.
Or put her hand up, you know.
Nowadays, you kind of get scared, and I was like, you know what? No, I got to make it right. I felt like that need, you know, because I'm like, how do I do that? I felt bad because, you know, I want him to realize that, you know, I do appreciate that, you know, he didn't run me over, and and I was thankful.
Well, I'll tell you, it's one of those things where we do have choices to make. That's one of the things when I was in personal growth and development, like 50 years ago. Oh my gosh, did I really say that? 50 years ago? But I was.
We're young.
Oh my goodness. And I just felt this need to, you know, be myself and learn as much as I can from other people, not to be like them, but to be my very, very best self. Mm-hmm. And, you know, listening to the stories, we learn from each one of the stories. I don't know if Tink's watching today, but because I think she overdid it with her little foot, but she is getting better. So anybody that knows Helena Trangata, we miss you, we love you, and you better be watching, because I've got something just for you that I brought today. We've only got about 7 minutes, and I'm just going to rattle this off to you. 6 minutes, I'm being told. 5 minutes? How fast are those minutes going, for heaven's sakes? What?
4, 3, 2, 1.
So, Tinkerbella, remember when we were doing with our book class with Mona? And you were giving us those prompts. And we were doing, she'd just give us these out-of-this-world wackadoodle prompts, and we'd have to write. So one of them was something about being on the dance floor. Well, you know, I nailed that. Well, the other thing that she said was something having to do with a rocket ship and out into the galaxies. And I'm going, what the heck am I going to write about a rocket ship? Let me center, let me go to my heart, and this is what I wrote. Right on the spot, right there. This was last year. I think it was last year. See, I wish she was here because I did this, and I brought it out. So, this is called The Rocket Ship into the Galaxies. Imagine a magical galactic carpet ride known as the rocket ship into the galaxies and onto the wonders of the universe. Imagine stepping onto a billowy, marshmallowy like surface that envelops your being, your body, your soul, your spirit as you soar through the air at the speed of light, healing light, and in the presence of the galactical wonders through God's universal, in and of the moment, presence and promise. The master at work with a masterpiece of organic arts. Imagine the feeling of freedom as its breathtaking best to experience the one healing emotion above all the rest, love. Ah, but to live in this moment, added with peace, bliss, joy, forgiveness, and the hope that is guaranteed to those who believe. Imagine taking this magical carpet ride as a rocket ship created to transform the world. I can just see us, boom, 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 on this rocket ship, right? Our world as we know it, a galaxy for generations to come. Thy will be done. Feel the soft expression of the carpet and the emotions that go along with it. Inhale the oxygen in the air and feel the comfort of hope. A universe and a world that is possible. Imagine every human that takes this magical carpet ride as they re-enter our Earth's atmosphere. Their path has been a journey into enlightenment with a voyage into heart intelligence and life mastery. All aboard.
Beautiful.
So, and I dug that out, and it just came from my heart. Because I wanted people to see where we have all grown together, and you know, Tink will be back doing her publishing hour on What's Your Story. If you ever want to write a book or take the class, I'm sure she'll be starting one up. And I know you've got one. You got to get yours. And you, Miss Thing, I'm waiting for that too.
Yes,
so
it's all
you've already got yours in the works in that.
And
so
you have a few too, do you?
I've got a few things
We're
going
all working on the project.
We're all working on it.
But high five.
It's a high five. And remember, we're here live at 5 every last Monday, pretty much live here in the studio. And the last time we were all here with there was 5 of us.
Yeah.
You know, and it was wild and crazy and fun. And Maura will be back. She's out spreading her happiness in Tunisia.
Oh my goodness. How fun.
And I'm sure Tink will be rocking babies with or without the leg brace and all that.
She's so dedicated.
Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. We just have a few seconds remaining, and hopefully we have made your light a little bit brighter today. And if not, and maybe you just need lean a little bit closer, or maybe call one of us, feel free to go ahead and reach out on Facebook. We're all there. And we want to thank you for joining us for Women Unscripted, and that we are. I hope that we have made a difference, even in a really small way. Yes. The next show that we will be doing again is the last one in February. Yeah, the last Monday.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be Heart Month. It's all about Heart Month. You bet. And I will be back with you next week with my husband. They call him Doc around here, Dennis Kelly. We will be talking about the new you age. And oh boy, do we have some surprises for you. And I think you need to be coming on that show. We'll be talking. We'll see you. Thanks. Mwah.
Bye-bye.